Hey everybody, and welcome to today's episode of Naughty Neighbours. And first up today, we have... Neighbour goes off on me for asking her to turn down her loud car radio, accuses me of racism, and says she knows where I live. Well, of course, you're neighbours. This is by Fartscape 420. They did want me to say that very loudly and clearly, so there we go. I live in a first-floor apartment, directly above the parking lot. One of my neighbours regularly pulls into her spot, parks and just sits there with the radio blaring or on speakerphone, having full-volume conversations. It's so loud I can make out what the person on the other end is saying from inside. This happens often enough that I know the sound immediately. Last night around 10 p.m. I was trying to listen to a podcast and make dinner. I heard the noise and was already frustrated and hungry, so I stepped outside and said, sternly, "Can you please turn down the radio?" I could hear it from inside my apartment. I tried to say this in my most stern, calm voice, trying to be clear I was not angry, just annoyed. That was apparently enough to set her off. She immediately got out of the car looking absolutely livid that I had the audacity to say something. Before I could even process it, she started yelling at me. It is annoying when the NPCs develop a character, isn't it? Accusing me of being disrespectful and starting something. She's Michael Jackson now. Then it got surreal. Out of nowhere she claimed I had, hypothetically, thunked her forehead. Which made zero sense. I was on the balcony above her, she kept ranting over me, and when I tried to explain I wasn't trying to start a fight, she interrupted me with, "You're a racist!" Just flat out accused me. I was stunned. I hadn't said anything remotely racial. I was just asking her to turn down her music. Trying to clarify, I said, "I know where you park, your car's the one I hear all the time," meaning this isn't a one-time thing, and I wasn't confusing her with someone else. She took that as a threat and snapped back, "Well, I know where you live." At that point I realized this was escalating fast and getting out of hand. I said, "Let's go to the front office and talk to management, handle this like adults." She agreed, but kept shouting at me the entire walk down the hall, calling me racist repeatedly. Loud enough for anyone in their apartment to hear. When we reached the front desk, I explained we were having a slight disagreement. When I was talking, she shoved past me and started banging on the office manager's door. "That'll convince him you're calm, lady, right on," even though it was technically closed for the night. The manager came out, confused. Huh? At this point, I knew things were going to get interesting. I was calm the entire time. She was in hysterics. I grabbed the chair to appear less confrontational and just let her go off. The neighbor immediately launched into another tirade, escalating again, saying how I threatened her and am a racist for even saying anything. She said I was inside getting drunk with my friends, and her having a conversation with her mother caused me to get aggressive with her. At one point, she looked me dead in the face and called me slow. That really stung, because I have dyslexia, and it's something I've dealt with my whole life. I kept calm, but it was like no matter what I said, she was just looking for things to throw at me. I was starting to get very frustrated because the manager wasn't letting me get a word in. I was getting shouted down by crazy while they stood by. The manager finally separated us and asked me to wait in the office. When she came back to speak with me privately, I apologized for the way things escalated, and said I should have just come to the office in the first place instead of confronting my neighbor directly. I told her I don't want conflict. I just want to be able to enjoy peace and quiet in my home. She asked if I'd be willing to try apologizing one more time to the neighbor. And I said sure, even though I knew it probably wouldn't help. Also, apologizing just lets her think that she was right to be mad at you, so don't do that. Don't do that again. At this point, I figured I had to be the bigger person to just end the confrontation. As expected, when I stepped back outside to say my apology, I barely got a sentence out before she started yelling again. She said she might call the cops because she feels unsafe. I stayed calm and said, "If you feel the need, go ahead. I live in apartment 126. I added, "Let's just pretend we don't exist to each other." She didn't look at me and said I sounded like a crazy person to the manager. That's where it ended. But we are neighbors, and she parks under my balcony. I now feel uncomfortable in my own home. I genuinely don't want any issues with my neighbors, but this woman seems unhinged, because she is, and something tells me this won't be the last time I hear from her. Wondering if I handled this correctly. What should I do now, etc.? Really, it sounds like you handled it very reasonably. The only thing I personally would take issue with is apologizing to someone that angry. If the situation hasn't already, de-escalated and everyone's thinking clearly, then an apology might be reasonable, just for the sake of keeping things polite. But when someone's that angry, apologizing to them only riles them up more because they think, yeah, I'm totally justified in this. They did wrong. They wouldn't be apologizing if they hadn't done wrong. And that's a mentality you're dealing with. Okay, next. Let's see. Neighbours Who Harass by Aggravating Scarf 6419. Moved into my house, 922. People I bought from described neighbours as a nice retired couple. The mail lady is related to them and made the comment, "She likes her yard a certain way." It seemed okay at first. Him beer belly staying busy at her command. She seemed a little off, like two-way communication, not her forte. She did complain a lot about all the other neighbours and the people who used to own my house. Generally, no one is up to her standards. Oh, honey, I understand, absolutely. Live in super rural area of Florida. You drive down the road, you see a nice house, crappy trailer, nice trailer, beautiful farm, very mixed. Our issue started with the fence between the properties. It was old and very crooked. The wife was constantly sharing ways to improve my yard. Trust me, it's not unkempt. She just spends hours every day picking up leaves, small twigs. She first wanted her husband to trim my trees down to low bush size. I said no. I liked my barrier. Same. Then telling me to rake the leaves. Again, not a lot of them, usually just mulch them with my mower. Her husband at one point had told me she had nothing else in her life but that yard. Back to the fence. She said she had wanted to change it, and that she and her husband didn't care what I chose. My bad was assuming it was old and crooked and mine. So I took to task of taking it down. It was 3 layers of wire zip tied together. I was 63 at the time. Neither volunteered to help. Got to the corners and realized the fence wrapped into their property on both ends. Ran to grab the survey. The entire crooked fence ran on their property. None was mine. I let the wife know it was not my fence. I wasn't taking it down. Offered to show her the survey. She said they had one. I think they were just trying to get me to replace their fence. No discussion of shared expense or anything like that. Just me thinking my fence had encroached. They took it down and put nothing up. I have dogs. Little yappers, but still. I was maxed out financially. I put up a field fence, done by a pro on my property, and ended at the corner of my house. I left a section of their yard open, which she complained about. I just do not understand why they would expect me to replace their fence. It has just gotten worse and worse since. Her putting up all these lights on that side right outside my bedroom, to them adding an LED on the property line that completely hits my house on that side. I did ask them about the lights and how bright they were. They do not hit their house at all. She told me that she had already spoken to the cops, and they had a right. That sounds wrong? Okay. He told me to F off and get off his property. I was wavering already on selling and moving out of state. This sealed it. Since the fence incident, I paid more attention to my cameras, realized they come outside to see what I'm doing every time I go outside, that she blows her leaves through my fence into my yard, them creeping around at night to see if my vehicle is there. My camera is aimed at the street but catches the edge of the yard. I always felt that someone was watching me out there. Ugh. She once told me, "I can still hear you now." One thing I could think of is my bedroom window on that side. My boyfriend and I fooling around. I mentioned it to him, and he said the only way she could hear it is if she was standing at the fence because their house is too far away. Super ick. They were super curious when he first was coming by, wondering if she was creeping when she saw his truck. My dog called her out a couple of weeks ago. I was working in the backyard when he started barking at a random section of the privacy fence she has up. She was standing behind it watching me. Gave her two-handed, one-finger salute. Yes, I know you watch me, you creep. Next up, kids next door don't respect our privacy, and this is from Massarella. So me and my roommate moved into a townhouse this winter that is in a collection of townhouses. On the back is the parking lot, and from there, each house has a sidewalk leading up to it. The house next to ours has the same sidewalk, our house being first before reaching theirs. So, essentially it's shared? But mostly is in front of our house. The issue is that the kids that live next door set up their basketball hoop on this sidewalk, and they all gather and play in front of our windows, not their own home. All the kids from all the other houses gather there also. They scream all the time for funsies. Ugh, I hate it when kids just randomly scream for no reason. Sometimes literally directly next to our window. The basketball also hits our wall all the time, and it's loud. Sounds like property damage to me. They also never stop playing when we carry in groceries or pass through, so it's like walking through a playground. They don't often gather in front of the other houses like this, and we're one of the only houses without kids. Because you're smart. Since it was literally all the kids, we emailed the landlord asking them to kindly see if the parents can ask the kids to play elsewhere. Nothing came of it after several days, so we went out and nicely asked the kids ourselves. Even tried to knock on the house next door, since theirs is the one with the basketball hoop, and nobody answered. Then one day, one of the older boys puts music on blast on his phone and puts it on our windowsill. I ask him not to. I think he sees this as infringing on his space because his whole family is often out there. Putting out lawn chairs that block our door, I don't want to assume, but it seems they don't care. I mean, if you put it on your windowsill, free phone. I finally have had enough when the kids are outside playing hide and seek, and they're using our window as the starting space, where they shout out their countdown. Nicely ask them again not to, and then I put out garden sticks to block that space off. We've nicely asked several times at this point, and now today I look outside, and they're literally standing on top of the garden decorations. Just hanging out right next to our window that looks into our kitchen. It's so uncomfortable because we already have nearly no privacy and have to keep the blinds closed all the time so that kids aren't peeking in. And now here they are, right there. And it feels deliberate. Yep. We are two women, and we go to bed early, and I hate that these teenage boys are old enough to know better, and I'm in my pajamas and don't want kids watching me. Obviously, yes. My roommate goes out and is more stern, asking them to please get away from our window, and they roll their eyes at her. Now, they are set up to be throwing basketballs, so that it's angled towards the window, and I can't help but feel it's on purpose now. I emailed the landlord again, but honestly, don't know what to do at this point. Call the police. You call the police. That's what you do. We have so much more time on this lease, and I don't want to escalate further, but also want peace in my own home. You could try talking to the parents of the individual kids. Your landlord, keep emailing them every single time something happens. And eventually, when that doesn't work, because I don't think it is, your landlord sounds very apathetic, go to the police. Okay. Next up, I think this is number 4, is my neighbor's wife is losing it over her cat liking me. And this is by 864-867-5309. My next-door neighbors moved in a few years ago. I've been friendly with them in neighborly ways. For the holidays, I drop off some home-baked cookies and handmade ornaments to a handful of people, them included. They say thanks, but have never given a card or anything. That's fine with me. They've asked me to pet sit their dog when they've gone on vacation a few times, and I've done that for them. Last summer, I found 2 4-week-old kittens that were basically dead. I rushed them to the vet and started emergency medicines. They both were on multiple meds. And hand-fed them every 2 hours through the day and night for weeks. There were multiple visits to the ER costing thousands, and this on top of the fact that I had lost my full-time job of 10 years. It was a very trying and stressful period. I already have 2 cats and didn't think I would be able to easily integrate the kittens. When my neighbor heard I had an orange kitten, he said they were interested in adopting. His wife came to see them but refused to touch or look at the black kitten because he was too sick to stand or even move much. Black kittens are very special, boys and girls. She's a bad lady for not touching the kitty. She only wanted to see the orange kitten because he was doing better. That was the first red flag. But I brushed it off. At the end of her first meeting them, 5 minutes max, when she was on her way out, she announced to me, "There are cats. You're just potty training them for us." A couple of days later, after I had nursed the black kitten to a place where he could hold his head up and look around, I was talking to the neighbors about his improvement, and the husband declared that his wife's touch was what miraculously healed the kitten, even though she refused to touch him. And he proceeded to refer to me as their nanny. His wife went on to insist that I hand the kittens over to them at 7 weeks old, even though they were leaving town for a week. I was going to be feeding their dog, and for some reason she thought it would be better if the kittens were all alone in her home for a week, rather than with me while they were gone. I don't get it, but I started to suspect she had some weird idea that the kittens would be more bonded to me than her, and her ego couldn't deal with that idea. I told her that arrangement didn't make any sense, and anyway, I couldn't promise adopting them out that soon, as they were still on several meds, supplements, and a strict feeding schedule. I was home all day, whereas the neighbors would be out of the house for around 10 hours every day for work. After investing so much in their health, I was not going to put them in a situation where they may not get critical attention they still needed. That ticked the wife off, and she wrote me a long text about how they would never be her cats and she didn't want them. No hard feelings. I absolutely had no intention of giving them to them at this point anyway, so was glad she said it first. Another stray orange kitten showed up in the neighborhood, and I asked them if they wanted it, and they made up a lie about going on vacation, so many vacations, that they couldn't take in a cat, even though they adopted another one a few weeks later. Totally within their rights to be petty, whatever, I told them I wouldn't be available to watch their dog when they went on vacation. They then returned a bird feeder I had given them, and voila, the petty games began. We basically ignored each other for the next year, aside from a few words here and there over the fence from the husband. They have a cat now, and he'll come to say hi to me through the fence, and every time he does, the wife runs out to call him away. So ridiculous. I have fresh catnip growing, and he loves it, so I'll offer it to him through the fence. Today, while I was giving him some, she tried to call him, and he wouldn't come, which made her totally spiral. She came busting over and said, "He's not your cat!" and said something about me being psycho, and immediately got on the phone with her husband too. I don't know what, tattle on me? Now, I have to live next door to this insane lady. Like, how is she spinning this that I have somehow wronged her, and she has a right to be nasty? Because she's crazy. That's why. I mean, some people are mentally ill, and, that's all well and good, but there's a difference between mentally ill and crazy, and she's just crazy. And you can't fix crazy. Anyway, last story for this video. This one is Neighbor Keeps Illegally Parking, Blocking Cars in Garages by Mizunoku Hioku. No. Mizuno Kyoku. I live in a condo. It's a nice place that's mostly quiet and peaceful. The condos are set up so that between the houses that are made up of condo units, there's garages and 2 parking spots. It's basically like a mini cul-de-sac. There are many, many other parking spots just a few feet away that line the street connecting all the condo buildings. Now, quite often I park either in one of those 2 spots or in my garage, when the weather is bad. But one neighbor keeps parking her giant SUV in front of the garages opposite to my garage and right behind one of the spots. This is very much illegal and against the bylaws. Plus, it makes moving in and out of my garage and/or either spot difficult. I have reported it to the association, but they don't do anything about it, naturally. So I decided to leave a note that said, "Please stop parking here. It's illegal, and makes it hard for us to get out of our garages and spots. There are spots behind you to use. Please be considerate. Thank you." It stopped for a few days, but then she parked there again. To be honest, I wasn't even sure if it was her. I only suspected because of her trashy behaviors, throwing her garbage onto the pavement, wearing short dresses and bending over to flash people, sitting on her balcony and screaming into her speakerphone, etc. I was coming home from a walk when I saw her getting out with her boyfriend. I finally decided to say something directly and asked, "Are you parking there?" The man asks why I'm asking. Well, it's not a spot, and it makes it difficult for people to get their cars in and out of either spots or their garages. The woman, the one who lives there, freaks out. Ah! She gets in my face, shrieking, really looking like she's going to hit me. Panicking, I yell back, calling her a miserable effing hag, as well as that she needs to shut the F up and learn to listen. No, I'm not proud of how I responded, but God, the way she came at me kicked me into full fight or flight mode, and apparently fight was... You chose fight. Good choice. She started calling my note disrespectful. Of course, I mean, anything that tells her you're doing something wrong when she's doing something wrong is going to be disrespectful. Of course it is. Of course. She said, "I'm the problem neighbor and nobody else cares." I said, "Other people do care. I am just the only one who said something." I didn't know this for a fact, because I never got the chance to ask my other neighbors, as we all generally keep to ourselves outside of polite greetings. She demanded to know who, so I said, "Everyone here. The people's garage you're blocking." She then demanded to know their names, which I did not give her, because that's weird to even ask. She then started to say, "Well, I know the neighbors and you don't." I've lived here for 2 years. I know the neighbors as well as anyone. I ended up saying, "Park there again and I'll have to call the police." She threatened to call the police on me for calling the police on her? I even asked her to confirm that's what she was saying, and she said yes. So what you should do in this case is call 2 separate police departments, have them come and fight it out like gladiators in a coliseum on your behalf. She also said if she's blocking my car by parking illegally, I should ask her to move. I didn't even know it was her 100% until today, and even if I did, in what world should I have to ask to be let out of a spot or my garage? She also screamed about how my parents idle in the car when they drop me off. She means when they're saying goodbye and they remain in the car. They're not parking and never block anyone. They are dropping me off and we say goodbye, but apparently dropping someone off at home is the same as parking in a way that blocks people from leaving in her world. Her boyfriend did try to de-escalate, at least someone's got a brain in that relationship, saying it was his car and that it wouldn't happen again. Must be some remarkable pussy if he's putting up with that. I'm not cutting that out. He did accuse me of being the one to escalate. Well, not that much of a brain. He did accuse me of being the one to escalate, even though it was his girlfriend who stormed over to my side and started shrieking while violently jamming her crusty claw in my face. I did try to tell the woman that I'd rather talk to him than her because he's actually being calm and not freaking me out with his behavior. She kept trying to get in my space, which I wanted her not to do. Finally, she did back off and I was able to safely go into my home, after the boyfriend said he wouldn't do it again. I was shaking and terrified, though, as I'm 27, female, I live alone. I immediately called my parents because I was scared. Thankfully, they came and comforted me, but I feel unsafe. Every window that faces out that way now has to be shaded and blocked off, because she can see right into my home. I've spotted her doing so before. I'm getting window frost to permanently resolve that, but for now, any kind of covering will do to help me feel safer. I also feel embarrassed about yelling back, no, you gotta stand up for yourself. It's okay to stand up for yourself. I don't want my other neighbors to think I am the problem, like the neighbor from hell said. I was just so scared and panicked. I retaliated. Trust me, everybody on that street knows what she's like. The HOA won't help, because they're an HOA, they're not designed to help you. I don't really know what to do at this point. If she does try to hurt me or retaliate in some way, please, call the police. It's always an option. Her reaction to what started as a very calm confrontation, I did not yell or sound aggressive. I just spoke plainly with little emotion because it wasn't something to be emotional about. Makes me think she might. I have a Ring camera and I do have proof of her parking there, blocking people for the whole day. I just hope the boyfriend keeps his word and she just ignores me, as I plan to do with her. I'm sorry if this is scattered. The whole situation just shakes me up a lot. I don't see how asking someone to not park in a place that isn't a spot, effectively blocking people's garages and cars, should escalate like that. Because she's a real special lady, and in her world she can do no wrong, and you broke the rules and told her that she was doing something wrong. I mean, shame on you for doing that. Mustn't do that again. But also do that again if she does park in front. I mean, have her if she's parking there illegally, if it is an illegal parking, just have it towed. That's always an option too. And that brings us to the end of this week's Naughty Neighbours. Big thanks to everyone who allowed me to use their stories. And if you would like to support the channel, you can do that by signing up for my Patreon. That's linked down in the description for you. $1 or more a month, whatever you're comfortable with, gets you early access to all the videos on Monday at once. I also have a link to my merchandise store in the description. You can get yourself mugs, t-shirts, hoodies, that sort of thing. Head on over, take a look, see if anything tickles your fancy. And if it does, buy it. Then you'll have it. That way we both win. So does Teespring. But we don't care about that. Anyway, I think that's all that's all I have to add there. So let's move on to Hellfreezer's question of the day. And today's question is: how much of a good thing do you take before you get annoyed by it? Right now in the UK, we're enjoying an extra bit of heat. The weather has actually been relatively pleasant this summer. Today it's dull, but it is warm. We've had a good bit of sun. I was out the other day. It was like 28, had a nice little breeze. It wasn't super humid. It was lovely. And quite frankly, it could go on for a good few more weeks as far as I'm concerned, because I'm quickly getting used to the heat while working. I'm making sure I take breaks and cool off, so it's really not bothering me in that way. But I understand some people just don't like that kind of weather. So how much sunshine can you take before you're like, oh, right, that's enough. Bring back the rain. Let me know what you think in a comment below. And before we go, we'll take a look at the answer of the day from a previous video. And which one was this? Let's see. Okay, and this answer of the day will actually take from Revenge's Ice Cream 349, because I just published the most recent Naughty Neighbours before this one, and there are no comments yet because it was just published. And this one was, like I say, Revenge's Ice Cream 349, and it was favourite sodas, I think it was. And today's answer comes from Kitty Rowe. I've always loved root beer as my go-to pop. My German friend thinks I'm crazy because to her it's minty like mouthwash. Makes me always wonder what their mouthwash is like there. As I've gotten older, I've added 2 other beers to my list, ginger beer and birch beer. So nummy. I do thank you very much for your answer, Kitty Rowe. I am very fond of ginger beer, ginger ale. I like ginger. I'm just a fan of ginger. Let me think. Root beer. I actually quite like root beer. Is it got sarsaparilla in it? Is that what it gives it the flavour? I do quite like root beer. I don't think it tastes like mint. Although I have come in, maybe the past decade or so, as I've gotten older, I have come to appreciate mint in drinks. Like there's a soda I get which is cucumber and mint flavoured. It's a completely sugar-free, no sweeteners or anything. I'm quite fond of that. But yeah, yeah, I quite like root beer. And with that, what was my answer? My answer was probably Dr. Pepper or Pepsi Max was my favourite cola. I can't have it anymore. I'm hoping one day in the future my body will just settle down and be like, you know what, let's stop all the fussing and feuding and just get along. We'll see. There is a medication change coming next week, and hopefully that actually calms my body down enough that it just stops getting offended by artificial sweeteners. But that's not the main reason for taking it. It would be a nice little bonus, but we are hoping it will just settle down, like the psoriasis issues, because what I'm on right now isn't working. So fingers crossed that there's Pepsi Max in my future. If not, well, I'll make do with Coke for now, because I can drink Coke within reason, because they don't use artificial sweeteners. They still use sugar. Pepsi caved. They started using artificial sweeteners in the UK, but Coke still uses sugar for now. And with that, I'm going to head off for now. So until next time, thank you very much for watching, and take very good care of yourselves. Bye-bye.